let's talk about completing the square. I'll take us through solving this quadratic by completing the square. When you're completing the square, we need a few things to happen. First off, we want to make sure that your leading coefficient is 1. My leading coefficient is that coefficient in front of your x squared term, and here it is a 1 because they don't tell me otherwise. So our first criteria has been met. The second thing that we need is we want to make sure that the constant term is empty because we're going to put a very specific number in that place. So we want to make sure that anything that is there gets moved away. So I have a plus 9 there right now. I'm going to subtract the 9 over and move it to the other side. So I've got x squared minus 10x blank equals negative 7. So we're going to fill in that blank with a number that forces this polynomial on the left-hand side to factor into a perfect square. When we're done, our polynomial is going to look something like this, x plus b to the power of 2. And when we multiply it out, you'll have x squared plus 2x times b plus b squared. Or let me just rearrange that middle term, 2bx plus b squared. And what I want to do is focus on the relationship between that middle term and the end term. So this middle term right here has a coefficient of 2 times b. And then that end term is b squared. So there's that same b showing up in both of them. So if I want to force my polynomial to fit this setup, what I need to do is make sure that our numbers have the same relationship they do here. So I need to fill in this space with a number that has the same relationship shown here. I'm going to do that by finding b first and then squaring it. So let me find b. I'll take this middle coefficient, which is 2b. I'm going to divide that by 2, and that gives me b. Then, once I have b, I need to square it, and I'll add that to the end. And then everything is going to factor into a perfect square. So my 10 here, I'm going to take that 10, divide it by 2, and that gives me negative 5. So that's my b. Now to fill in my blank, I'm going to take that negative 5 and square it and put that number in my blank. So I will add 25 to the left-hand side of my equation. Now, anytime you do something to the left, we have to do that same thing to the right. So I'm going to add 25 to the right as well. And now the left-hand side will factor exactly like we want. You can go ahead and factor it, maybe factor by grouping or diamond divide, however you might want to factor. But remember that we created this polynomial so that it would factor into a perfect square. We were very intentional about the number that we put in the blank. So we know how it's going to factor. We know that it's going to be x, that leading variable, with your b term. So this negative 5 tells me I have x minus 5 all squared. So basically, we just took what we have over here and we worked it backwards. So the left-hand side has been factored into a perfect square. The right-hand side I'll go ahead and add to get 18. And now I can solve using square roots. Square root the left, square root the right. Don't forget your positive, negative. Square roots and squared are inverses, so they cancel. I've got x minus 5 equals positive or negative square root of 18. Side note, simplifying the square root of 18, that would be square root of 9 times 2. Square root of 9 we know, so I can pull out the square root of 9, which is 3, and then that 2 has to stay inside. So x minus 5 equals positive or negative 3 square root 2. We just add the 5 to get the x all the way alone, add 5 to both sides, and generally we like to put that integer first. So my answer is going to have the positive 5 first and then plus or minus 3 square root 2. So we have two answers here. The first is 5 plus 3 square root 2, and the second one is 5 minus 3 square root 2. You can leave them as one or you can write them separately. Either way works. Hope that helped. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.